Okay, so over the last couple weeks, I've been really working closely with some coaching clients as well as agents and a team that I work closely with. Making sure, and we talked to the last couple weeks in the morning meetings that I've been doing is your schedule and making sure that you know your personality styles and the things that are important to your business. But today I want to talk about specifically your ability to do your lead follow-up specifically. But I want to again stress to you guys what I did last week, and that is that your lead follow-up is completely different than your prospecting. Okay, I had an agent that sat in my office yesterday. She wants to be rookie of the year, and I told her it's definitely doable if you treat your prospecting separate from your lead follow-up. And she said, okay, well, what's that mean? And I said, a lot of agents will get in the habit of using their leads to, especially somebody like herself who's maybe on a team, you'll use your leads as your prospecting time. Okay. And these are people that you maybe have already been in contact with where you're actually trying to reach back out to do that lead follow-up. So if you remember last week, we talked to two different things, prospecting and lead follow-up. They're two separate things, you guys. And if you really want to succeed at the game, I've been stressing this to my clients is separating the two. Okay. When you're doing lead follow-up, it's completely different than when you're prospecting. Prospecting should be true blue, new business where we're actually going after the business. And then lead follow-up should be, is a separate thing in the sense of these are people I've talked to. They've said, hey, call me back tomorrow, or hey, call me back in 2 weeks. That's my lead follow-up. Okay, so prospecting, truly treat it as cold, new blue prospecting, new business, going after it to make sure that you're able to do this. So, but today specifically, I want to talk about lead follow-up. Russ is kind enough that he always will compliment me and tell me that, I'm amazing at this. At the same time, I don't want to toot my horn or anything, but it is going to be 80% of your business. And I wish I would have learned this earlier on in my business. Making sure that you understand 85% of your business is going to come from your lead follow-up. Okay, but so that's often said, your prospecting is only as good as your lead follow-up. So it's important, but if you really want to exceed and you want to have that new business as well as your lead follow-up, separate the two. Okay, but today I want to take you through lead follow-up specifically. And I always would say with real estate agents, so you essentially have two types of lead follow-up. Lead follow-up is where, you're actually calling those people who said, hey, call me back tomorrow. I would call that my lead follow-up. Okay, so those people would still count towards my numbers for the next day because I never set the appointment on the previous day. Okay, and then you also have your lead follow-up, people that you're already in contact with, right? So your sellers, your buyers, things like that you already have those relationships with, you need to make sure you're following up with them as well. Okay, so really understanding and get with your coach or manager, understanding that there really is two different types of lead follow-up. But specifically, I want to talk to what I believe to be the effective ways of lead follow-up. Okay, as I work with teams, as I work with my agents, one of the things that I've really realized is most people will just call and just say, I'm going to use you, John Aubrey, because your name's on your name's in front of me. But most of them will just be like, hey, this is John. I just really wanted to call and see how you're doing. You guys, that's not lead follow-up. Okay, if you really want to get effective at the game of lead follow-up, there's some important things to make sure you're paying attention to. So first and foremost, we all have some type of system that we're using. Okay, if you don't have a system, you definitely need to get, again, with your manager or your coach to make sure you're setting something up. One of the things that I would tell you is use a system that you know is going to work for you. I personally tried to switch gears to like a pro agent website and things like that. It didn't work for me. Why? Because I use 3x5 cards. That's the way I was trained. That's the way I learned. So I would tell you, find the system that works for you and the one that you know you're going to actually use and stick to that system. Okay. Whether it's 3x5 cards, whether it's a big sheet, some people use pro agents, some people use technology, whatever it is that you want to use, make sure you use an Excel sheet. Some of them use Excel sheets, right? So make sure you're going to use something that works for you. So I want to go through what I believe to be the effective steps to lead follow-up. Okay, over the last couple of weeks, we've talked to personality styles, making sure you're able to communicate the right way with other people. The first thing that I want you to put down is, and first and foremost, is I want you to put on your sheet or your 3x5 card or whatever it is, who your client is. Okay, so I want you to write down who their personality style is. Why would I do that? Well, a few things. That way, when I'm calling to do my lead follow-up, I know I have to come with my loud, boisterous, expressive, or I come with my soft, amiable self, right? And so those are the things that I really want you to pay attention to as you're doing your lead follow-up. Remember, you guys, early on, I had clients or, people tell me, well, that's just not who I am. I don't want to change who I am. I would just challenge you again, the same thing my coach said to me, it's not about you, it's about your client. Okay. So make sure that you're being who you need to be for your client. So number one is we're going to make sure that we call with energy and enthusiasm. Okay. We're calling with energy and enthusiasm. And again, by having that personality style in front of us, we know who we need to talk to. I remember early on that, oftentimes for myself, or like I was coaching one of my coaching clients yesterday, is energy and enthusiasm doesn't mean I'm going to call and be all loud and boisterous all the time, right? Energy and enthusiasm just means that I bring energy to the call. Okay. And again, if we're mirroring matching that personality style, I may bring the excitement, the fun, the energy with an expressive, but I may, come a little bit softer when I have that amiable, but doesn't mean I don't change my energy, right? I'm coming with energy and enthusiasm, come with excitement. Okay. The second thing to lead follow-up is I want you to remind yourself of some things. So before you even make that call, when you're doing your lead follow-up, you should be reminding yourself of, what is my client's motivation? Okay, what is my client's motivation? Maybe some personal things that are going on in their life. Okay, maybe it's the steps in which you're at in the process with these individuals, whether it's with a client I'm working on right now, or whether it's somebody that I'm following up with that said, hey, call me back in a month. You need to have an idea of where they're at. So there's three things that I really will say, pay attention to: motivation, personal information, right? And then making sure that you're actually going through what it is or where you left them at in the process. And why you want to do that before you're calling is because you're then going to call with actual intention, right? I'm not just calling to say, hey, how are you? How are things going? Just wanted to touch base with you. That's not lead follow-up, you guys. Okay. It's, hey, I wanted to reach out to you, June. Last time you and I talked, you were meeting with the lender. How are things going? Right? There's intent there. Not only that, it shows that you're actually interested in them, you guys. It shows that you actually paid attention to your last conversation and you're not just trying to get a paycheck done. Okay. The next thing, right? So the next step. So number one is call with energy and enthusiasm. Number two is I'm going to remind myself of that. And then number three is I'm going to call with intention, meaning I'm going to ask the question, how is it since we last talked? Last time you and I talked, you were meeting with a lender to get your credit repaired. Last time you and I talked, you said you wanted to get your home on the market in the next 90 days. How are things going, right? So you're going to, again, remind them of why you had that conversation, okay? And I often will use the statement of, and don't be ashamed, you guys. Hey, you know what, June? I'm looking at my notes here, and from our last conversation, this is what I remember us talking about. Remind yourself, and not only that, saying something like that makes your client feel like they're so much more important to you, that you're actually taking notes when you're talking to them. There's nothing wrong in that process, okay? And then the next step, one of the steps that I will often talk to, and I know I'm working really closely with one of my coaching clients on this right now, is our ability to confront. Okay, your ability to confront through the lead follow-up process. You guys, I am a firm believer, confrontation does not have to be a negative thing, but it took me years to learn that, right? Confrontation can be an easy thing. So some statements, and I'll just write them down here quickly, that you can often use is share with me. I know we've all heard this, right? Share with me. Help me understand. Dot, 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 okay? I'm just curious. So these are often referred to in the Ever system, right, as transitional statements, but they also can be used when you're doing your confrontation, and highly effective. So making sure that you're actually confronting them. So, you know, June, I'm just curious, and I'm sorry, June, I keep using your name because you're right in front of me. I'm just curious. So last time you and I talked, you said you needed to be moved in 90 days, correct? Okay, fantastic. So help me understand, what's stopping you from getting your home on the market? If you need to be sold in the next 90 days, are you aware that it takes on an average of 60 to 90 days to get a home sold? Do you need to be sold right now? Or do you need to be sold in 90 days? right? So again, making sure that you're confronting the situation. You guys, confrontation does not have to be a negative thing. It can be a very positive thing if you're using the transitional statements. Again, come talk to one of your managers. One of us will help you through that, but make sure you're using those. I often used to say, whenever you walked into George Moore's office and he said, "Hey, Linz, help me understand," you knew you were in trouble. Right? That means the confrontation question was coming next. Okay, so don't be afraid to confront in the process. Not only that, we are doing lead follow-up to get a result. We're not doing lead follow-up just to say hello, right? We're getting a result. So without confrontation, sometimes you won't get the result. So don't be afraid to confront your client. Okay. The next step that I always will say is make sure you're using some type of testimonial. If I'm calling, right, that for sale by owner that I'm following up with, I can use a statement like, "Hey, I'm not sure if you're aware, John, but the average for sale by owner actually loses $25,000 to $35,000 by selling their home themselves. You know what, your situation reminds me of the Smiths, who I was able to negotiate $20,000 just by them listing it with me." Use a testimonial, you guys, throughout your conversations, right? Because then it creates even more emotion to why they might move forward with you. Don't be afraid to use a testimonial. Okay. And then the last thing that I would just say is you should always go in for the close. So my next intention, or my whole intention of lead follow-up, is to make sure that I'm actually trying to set an appointment, or I'm trying to get them in front of that lender. I'm actually trying to get them to put their home on the market, right? Your whole intention is to go for that close. And when I say go for the close and lead follow-up, usually in most cases, it's going to be the appointment, the next appointment. When are you going to sit down with them next? Okay. How are you going to sit down with them next? Hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and get you with the lender. When would be a good time for me to schedule that out for you? Okay. Intention, again, a close, and that's a simple close. It doesn't have to be a hard close. It doesn't have to be a hard sell, right? But as you can see, and I hope you can see, that through these steps, one, I'm being who I need to be for my clients. Right? I'm coming with intention. I'm reminding myself. I'm also reminding myself of who they are. Two, I'm coming to the call so that they feel important. They know that I remember what we talked about the last time. Right? And then the last thing is I'm going with intention to actually get a result from my lead follow-up. Okay, you guys, lead follow-up, again, if it's just as important as our prospecting time, why would you not go with an intention to actually set an appointment, right? Why would you not confront them? And again, confrontation doesn't have to be a negative thing. Hey, look, you hired me as a real estate professional to get your home sold. Help me understand. You said you had to be moved in 90 days, right? So what can we do to maybe make the situation a little bit different so we can actually get your home sold? No negative, right? All positive, but also helping them understand that you're there for them and you're there to get the job done, which they hired you to do. Okay. I gave you guys a lot of different examples, from just your actual lead follow-up and trying to set an appointment to your lead follow-up when you're working with clients. But you guys, lead follow-up is key. And there are two parts to this. When I always say, break it down. I'm somebody that definitely works better with systems. When you're doing your lead follow-up, I'm going to call what I call my leads lead follow-up. These are people who said, hey, call me back in a week, call me back in a month, whatever it is, right? That I'm going to call them first. And then my other portion of my lead follow-up is going to be people that we've talked to. So as George says, making sure that you're touching base with your listings, right? And giving them an update on the home. That would be a little bit different. You would just give them updates instead of confronting them. When you're working with your buyers, you would be doing some lead follow-up with them as well. So there are two separate lead follow-ups that you really need to pay attention to in the sales process of real estate. So I hope, you guys, that this was beneficial for you. Again, I know, we obviously went over a lot, and I hope that meditation is something that you're able to implement in your morning routine. I definitely recommend it. Like I said, it's really something that's easy for me to make sure that I'm starting that day in a place of center. And then this lead follow-up process becomes easy. It becomes fun, because then I want to be who I need to be for other people, right? But more importantly, be who I need to be for myself so that I can do this efficiently and effectively. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, please reach out to me, but we will go ahead and close out with affirmations.